What do rising regional tensions in the Indo-Pacific mean for U.S. Pacific territories? Today I am joined by former delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives from Guam's at-large district, Robert Underwood. I'm Catherine Pack, Deputy Director and Senior Fellow with the Australia Chair at CSIS, and this is Pacific Policy Pulse. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Underwood.
Thank you.
So what brings you all the way here to D.C.?
Well, I'm head of the Pacific Center for Island Security, a island-based regional think tank for Guam and Micronesia. And I'm here to actually meet with other think tanks in Washington, D.C. So here, CSIS and a few others, and also to attend President Trump's State of the Union address.
Great. Well, you have a very unique seat over in Guam, which is both a U.S. territory but also a Pacific island. So from your vantage point, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Pacific Islands region today?
Obviously, the geostrategic, particularly in the North Pacific and the Micronesian region, the geostrategic competition has rearranged the lives and the society of all Pacific Islands in Guam and Micronesia as military buildup continues at a steady pace. Trying to understand what that means for the island societies remains the greatest challenge, because the decisions are basically made somewhere else and implemented in the region. And there's a wide variety of consultation or lack of consultation on all those issues.
What are some of the biggest effects you're seeing on Guam?
In Guam, there's environmental degradation and the disruption of cultural resources. But there's also been issues pertaining to housing. So as the housing allowances increase for military personnel and related contract and civil service, and they're kind of put out in instead of building housing, they're put out in the community. It's been very, very disruptive to the housing situation and has made housing, which has always been unaffordable, even more unaffordable in the current environment. There's also the issue of how much economic benefit, even though there's billions of dollars spent, is that billions of dollars actually being spent in labs somewhere in the U.S. as opposed to activities on Guam and benefiting the local workforce.
A lot of considerations for policymakers here, I think.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of opportunity for people to express their concerns. And so the disruption of that, the disruption of lives is, and of course Guam's economy is, and the standard of living is probably, 75–80% of what it is in U.S. mainland communities. And then you throw on top of that the housing costs that now that are exacerbated by the military buildup. It's a very, very disturbing situation. In one housing, in most U.S. communities, the people living in multi-family and multi-general households is about 1%, 1 to 2% of the total households. In Guam, it's 10%.
Wow.
And so people say, oh, that's cultural. Well, it's cultural, but it's mostly economic.
Out of necessity. So as we wrap up, I'd love to ask you what book you're reading these days.
Well, I read a lot of books, It's an interesting question. But it's Rewriting History, How Fascists Rewrite History by Mark Sampson. And so what that book does is that, it outlines what people do in interpreting history. And in the context of American history I've always felt was like a project in which it was perfecting the original vision of the Founding Fathers. But what's happening today is that all the lessons that we've learned or the struggles that we've had in order to perfect that are now being discounted and erased from memory. And that's not good, because a society has to have a healthy sense of awareness about itself in order to continue to progress. And history is at the key of that.
Absolutely, and I took that one down.
Yes.
I'll be looking that up. Thank you for the recommendation. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us on Pacific Policy Pulse.